So it's a very easy thing to say this year that the New England Patriots with Mac Jones, not only this year, the previous year, all the way up until basically when Brady left. And from then they just haven't had a quarterback that they can call their future. They had Cam Newton, who they actually had a decent record with. They had Mac Jones, who they went to the playoffs with and got spanked in the playoffs by the Buffalo Bills. But this was a year in 2021 with Mac Jones as a rookie where they were sixth in points scored. They were second in points allowed. And it seemed like going into the playoffs that year, not only did they have a shot to be a deep playoff team, they had a shot to be a Super Bowl contending team in just their second year without Tom Brady. And so I think a thing that we know now is not only has Tom Brady won a Super Bowl since he left New England, he has since retired, and the New England Patriots are ever the more worse since Tom Brady left, even with a playoff appearance and even with a 10-win season. At 2-9 this year, they already have more losses this year than any other year since Tom Brady left. They probably already have more turmoil in terms of so many questions about, is Bill Belichick going to leave after this year? Is there any sort of shot that Bob Kraft fires Bill Belichick? Can you believe that's even a question? Would Robert Kraft fire Bill Belichick at the end of the year? I can't even believe that's a question. I think what the question needs to be is, who is the quarterback going forward, or who at least needs to be targeted by the New England Patriots going forward? Because the season's already a wash. The season was a wash probably 4 or 5 weeks ago. The season was probably a wash, honestly, before the season started. Even I, someone who thought before this year started that the New England Patriots were going to be a playoff team, this year probably shouldn't have had that high of expectations, even from fans who know nothing. So when you look going forward, like obviously Mac Jones can't be the quarterback going forward. He probably can't be on the team anymore after this year. I think when you compare Mac Jones' situation to a situation like Zach Wilson with the New York Jets, or you compare it to a situation like, even somewhat to an extent, Davis Mills with the Houston Texans, but that's a bit of a different situation because coming in, Davis Mills had zero expectations. For Zach Wilson, and especially for Mac Jones, both of those players had high expectations coming to this team. And Mac Jones, to an extent, succeeded his rookie year, but has been a massive failure every single year since. And we see with Zach Wilson, even when they find the replacement, and you somewhat understand what New York was doing by keeping Zach Wilson after they traded for Aaron Rodgers, in the hope that maybe a little bit of Aaron Rodgers can rub off on Zach Wilson. I don't know if you draft or if you get a guy to replace Mac Jones. I think it's toast in New England with Mac Jones. I think he's done. I think he's zapped. I think you get to the point where he's being replaced by Bailey Zappi, or if it gets to a point where Will Grier or Malik Cunningham end up taking snaps under center for the New England Patriots, it just has to be done with Mac Jones. They brought back Bill O'Brien. I can't say in the coaching staff what else they did. They brought back Joe Judge, but that doesn't matter. But they brought back Bill O'Brien, and that was supposed to be the big thing for Mac Jones, is going back to what he knew in Alabama. And the thing is, in Alabama, as much shit as Mac Jones deserves to get thrown at him for his play this year, because many of the plays that he has made have been very negative to his team, the difference between Mac Jones and Bill O'Brien in Alabama and Mac Jones and Bill O'Brien with the New England Patriots is Mac Jones was throwing the ball to Jerry Jeudy. Mac Jones was throwing the ball to, I believe, a young Devonta Smith in Mac Jones' last year there. He had a Henry Ruggs there. He had first-round talented receivers, including an offensive line that was the best in the nation, usually, including a defense whose secondary was usually the best in the nation, whose linebackers were usually the best in the nation, whose defense was usually the best in the nation. And Nick Saban, who, in terms of college coaches, is one of, if not the best in the nation. You compare that to New England. The best receiver in New England is Demario Pop Douglas. And behind him, it's Devontae Parker. Maybe Mike Gesicki. Maybe even Ramondre Stevenson out of the backfield. Like, there's nobody for him to throw to. There's nobody to throw to. And especially when Kendrick Bourne went down for the year, there's nobody to throw to. Juju Smith-Schuster has been absent. Ty Montgomery is still in the NFL for some reason. Jalen Reagor is on this team. Kayshon Boutte has played. No, he's not played. So, at the end of the day, it's kind of just, the situation is zapped. Now, who do you replace him with? I don't think you can replace him with a draft pick, because I will always say this, and this is something that I think going forward teams should employ into their own thought process. You cannot get the quarterback before everyone else. You can't do it. You can't get the rookie quarterback before everyone else. Now, you can get a veteran. You can get a guy that's been in the NFL for a few years. You can't get a rookie before everyone else, because the quicker you get the quarterback, the quicker it's going to take for people to say he's not it. And the quicker it's going to take for their own team to say he's not it. Because if they don't have an offensive line, if they don't have weapons, if they don't have a defense in place, if they don't have special teams in place to play complementary football, the quicker it's going to take for whoever it is, if it's Caleb Williams, if it's Drake May, if it's Shedeur Sanders, if it's Michael Penix Jr., whoever it is that gets drafted by New England, if they take a quarterback, the quicker it's going to take for them to already be behind the 8 ball. Now, with that being said, what do they do then? Well, you look at the free agent class this year, and you say to yourself, free agent quarterbacks aren't really even a thing. I'd say the best quarterback that's been signed in the last 5 to 10 seasons in free agency is probably Kirk Cousins. And that's really the best. Quarterbacks don't make free agency. Quarterbacks don't go to free agency. It's just not a thing. When you look around, Kirk Cousins is a free agent. You're not going to sign him off a torn Achilles. Ryan Tannehill's a free agent. You're not going to sign him after what he did this year. The next best option is Gardner Minshew or Baker Mayfield or Joshua Dobbs. No real option to go forward with. So that leaves a possible trade situation for the New England Patriots. And who else do we know is in a terrible situation? As a quarterback, who do we know is in a terrible situation, but is a generational quarterback? Who do we all know? It's Justin Herbert. Look, the Chargers are behind the Raiders in the AFC West standings. I don't know the last time LA finished behind the Raiders, other than that one year the Raiders went to the playoffs. The Chargers are usually at least second or third in the AFC West, and they're very rarely behind the Raiders. And so, it's kind of like, at this point, this situation, as it is in New England with Mac Jones, I think this situation is zapped in LA with Justin Herbert. Because why would he want to play there? This is a very smart football player. Justin Herbert is one of the smartest players. He's one of the smartest dudes in the NFL. And this is a guy who threw 31 touchdowns to just 10 interceptions his first year in the NFL. You know what they went? 7-9. Okay, well, they got better, right? They got better. He threw 38 touchdowns the next year to 15 interceptions. They went 9-8 and missed the playoffs. Well, they made the playoffs last year. He threw another 25 touchdowns to 10 interceptions. Almost threw for 5,000 yards. Consistently gets sacked about 5% of the time. his sack percentage is around 5%. And it's every single year that we go into it with the LA Chargers that their Super Bowl odds are not at the top, obviously, because you have Kansas City, you have Philly, you have Buffalo, blah, 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 blah. But they're usually top 10 in Super Bowl odds every year. They're 4-7 this year. And Justin Herbert is having another Justin Herbert year. He's 20 touchdowns to 6 interceptions. Already 3,000 yards, basically. 66% completion percentage. They're 4-7. And you look at every offensive metric that they have, they're towards the top when it comes to their passing game. But when you look at the defense, and it's not always the defense that fails them. Honestly, before, it usually was the fact that they didn't have a kicker. But I think it's just to the point with the LA Chargers where you can look at it and you can say, you know, their owner might not be the smartest. They haven't fired Brandon Staley yet. How? I don't know. It's kind of impossible that they haven't fired the man yet, but they haven't done it. And that alone leads me to believe that if their owner is not dumb enough, or I'm sorry, if their owner is dumb enough not to fire Brandon Staley yet, why isn't he dumb enough to trade Justin Herbert? Look, I'm not saying that New England trades for Justin Herbert because the Chargers think they're being smart. I think they can do it because I think Bill Belichick knows that the Chargers are always going to be the Chargers. And this is something I'm just now figuring out at 24 years old. The Chargers are always going to be the Chargers. They're always going to be one of the dumbest teams, one of the dumbest franchises in the NFL. The fact that they hired Brandon Staley was a terrible decision and one that makes you question whether or not people are all there that are making decisions. And trading Justin Herbert would just kind of be the cherry on top. And as impossible as it would be, New England has possibly, the number 1 overall pick in the NFL this year. How stupid would LA have to be to say, okay, we could trade Justin Herbert. We also get the number 1 pick. We probably get the second-round pick that the New England Patriots are going to have. We'll probably take their first-round pick in the next year. And maybe another first-round pick in the next year as well. Throw in a couple, maybe another player or two. Maybe New England throws in somebody like, I don't know, like maybe a Josh Uche. Maybe they throw in I don't know. Maybe they throw in somebody that they have. I think Uche is actually a free agent this year, but you get my point. New England would want to do this as much as LA would be dumb enough to do this. And that's why I think this is perfect, because I think Herbert is done with this LA shit. You know, this is a guy who, when he came into the NFL, 4.0 basically out of Oregon. And this is a smart guy. I think he knows that his career is not going to last forever. And he can't have a career that doesn't last forever, but also doesn't do anything because he's with an organization that's not going to do shit for his success. They're not going to do anything for his success. You have their head coach blaming everybody but himself in the press conference. You have a head coach who can't get out of his own team's way. He is the reason they lose. And he has not been fired yet. And from everything that we've seen so far, I wouldn't be surprised if Brandon Staley is on the sideline next year because the Chargers are that stupid. Because they are that stupid. And it's that stupidity that I hope it leads Justin Herbert to get traded to the New England Patriots, because I think that's the perfect quarterback for the Patriots. I think he's the kind of quarterback that can not just make himself look good, he's going to be a guy that can make the team look good. And they haven't had that since Brady left.